guarantee success. And right now, I believe the Tigers starting pitching entirely makes less money than Josh Hader alone. I think I saw that stat.
I think you're right. Yeah. No, it was. You are right.
And Willie Adames is going to get his money. And I want him to get all his money. I wish we had all the money to give him that he deserves to have for such a great ball player and just a clubhouse guy. But realistically, we know that's not happening. Correct. All right, with that said, we've been talking about the Brewers' tragic ending last night all morning, and we have no great words or insight to soothe or illuminate another awful sports loss.
Just like my text last night, I have no words.
I have no words. There are no words, but we got to do what we got to do. But hey, buckle up, Buttercup. We got a tackle football game of a team we love coming up on Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles that we need to win. It's not a must win. It's a can't lose. No, it's not a can't lose. They could. Only, 3.5-point favorites, 2.5-point favorites, depending where you shop. It's not a must win, not a can't lose. It's a you better not lose.
The state of Wisconsin needs a win.
Oh, God, yeah.
We need a win.
I know. And so with that said, let's go ahead and cue his music. Wayne Larrivee joins us now, longtime voice of the Green Bay Packers. And as you probably know, huge baseball fan, loves the sport, loves the game, and a Yankee fan from birth, having grown up in the Northeast. And you are no stranger, even as a Yankee fan with 27 world titles in your back pocket, Wayne, to this kind of heartbreak, because Jose Altuve did that to your ace closer in the pinnacle of the sport, the World Series. That one must have stung bad.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Yeah. And even the one where they would have won 4 in a row, it was, I want to say 2001 or 2 or something like that.
The Mariano Rivera.
Rivera, the best there ever was, the best there ever will be, gave up a single to, I think it was Gonzalez that scored Mark Grace or somebody like that from third, and won the game, won the World Series Game 7 in extra innings. So, yeah, and I feel for Murph and the whole bit. And to be honest with you, I watched the whole game last night and was just, gosh, I'm thinking, wow, this is going to be good. This week was so great around Milwaukee, the buzz that was around Milwaukee and everybody into it and talking about it and everything else. It was just great. And then to see it end the way it did last night after they got the lead, and then they had their closer who's been outstanding on the hill, and he gives up the homer to Pete Alonso. My goodness, that's hard. We've seen that in Packers land. We saw 4th and 26 in Philadelphia. We've seen a lot of these tough losses to the San Francisco 49ers. On Matt LaFleur's best team was 2021, and they lose on a blocked field goal and then a blocked punt that was recovered in the end zone for a touchdown. And, those are tough. It's tough. It's hard to come back. It's hard for teams to come back from that the next year. It really is.
Well, that's why the Super Bowl loser hangover is a real phenomenon.
It is.
That whoever loses the Super Bowl more often than not has a terrible season to follow up. And that's what the Niners are facing right now, but they're racked by injuries. By the way, Wayne Larrivee brought to you, as always, by Steam Fitters Local 601. Learn more by visiting steam601.org and by the National Fire Sprinklers Association. Visit them at nfsa.org. I was making the list of all the heartbreaks and disasters, and of course, the Packers populated a good portion of that list. And when you mentioned the Niner game and the snow with the blocked punt in the end zone, I'd forgotten, Wayne, about the blocked field goal in that game. Yeah. Talk about a therapy repressed memory that you dragged out of me. Thanks a lot, pal.
Well, you're welcome anytime.
But this is the price of fandom. To enjoy the beauty and the glory when your team wins, you have to endure these kind of things when they lose.
Exactly.
And we accept it.
The fact is they got to the playoffs, and I understand the result wasn't what any of us wanted, but they still got there. To have this kind of, situation. You still got to the playoffs. And, I understand that's little solace on a morning like this, but, it's tough. You get to the mountain, close to the mountaintop, and it blows up on you. It's tough, and we know that well enough. There's no doubt about that.
Let's get to this game on Sunday afternoon. The injury report that came out yesterday was troubling to me because it looked like a CVS receipt for the Packers. Where did all these injuries come from? You got Dobbs, who's out on a personal issue that has been kept, private between the team and the player. I hope everything is not too bad with him. But what do you see on this injury report that concerns you the most?
I'm still not sure about the two cornerbacks who have started practicing. I'm not sure how close they are to playing. Leg injuries with cornerbacks or wide receivers are not something you can play through, Czabe. You've got to be 100% in the lower body because that's where you make your living. And so I'm a little concerned about that, but I think it sounds to me like Jair is going to give it a go this week, and maybe they get Carrington Valentine back as well. And you can argue, obviously, Ja is their best cover corner, but Valentine might be their second best cover corner. And they missed them both last week, and they need them both if they're going to move forward. So hopefully those guys are back.
All right, so here's the list just to run it down for you, the key guys at least. Dobbs, as I mentioned, didn't participate this week so far on a personal issue. Edgerrin Cooper was a non-participant yesterday at linebacker. Kenny Clark, limited. Jair, limited. Jonathan Ford, limited. Elton Jenkins, limited. He took a bad hit, a bad friendly fire snipe to his knee, which could have been a lot worse in this game. Good news, Jordan Love, full participant. Jordan Morgan, limited. Musgrave did not participate yesterday. Valentine, limited. Watson, of course, is now out for a couple weeks. And then Devontae Wyatt also did not participate yesterday. It's a lot of guys. It's a lot of guys right there.
A lot of guys, but the Rams are decimated by injuries. Their injury report is only shorter than the Packers because most of their guys are on IR.
Right, exactly. They got four guys on the injury report. Cooper Kupp's on it, which means in theory he could play, but I'm not hearing any buzz that he's actually going to
Sean McVay announced on Monday he would not play.
Okay.
They're going to give him this week. They've got to bye the next week, and they're hoping to get him back for the game after that and make their run.
Okay.
We'll see.
So
they've got a lot of new players, Dave. It's a hard study on the Rams. I know we've played them every year for God knows how long.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
They're just in a complete transition, and now with their injuries, McVay does a tremendous job. Matthew Stafford is one of the most resourceful quarterbacks in the history of the game, but this is a game the Packers, given the situation, should win. But it won't be easy out of SoFi because we saw the Rams' lone win this year was over San Francisco. Understand the Niners are having a rough year with their injuries as well, but beating the Rams spotted them double-digit leads twice in the second half and came back and won. So you can't take them lightly.
Wayne, what is the biggest concern? Is it the running game of the Rams?
Yeah, I think the running game to an extent, Kyron Williams can do some nice things, but Stafford in the passing game, if the Packers don't get a pass rush on him, he can tear you apart. He has Tutu Atwell, an emerging slot receiver who's coming along in the absence of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Demarcus Robinson is an accomplished wide receiver in the league. He's been around for a while. They've got some weapons, and Stafford can mix it together and make it work if the Packers aren't on their game defensively.
The Packers do play the Rams a lot. I'm looking back.
They do. It's crazy.
I'm like, you guys again? Are you in our division now? What are you doing here? This will be the fourth year in a row they've played the Rams, and they played them twice in 2021, technically in the wraparound playoff game in January of 21. Then again, the next November. Played them in 2018 as well. That was at the Coliseum, I want to say, in 18, right? So I was not open yet.
Yep.
Open then. And they lost that game 29-27. That included the disastrous crumble, as I call it, the kick return fumble.
Ty Montgomery.
Yep. Oh, God. Yeah. Unbelievable. And then prior to that, their meetings were against the St. Louis Rams. So it's been a while.
Former spotter of mine mentioned that in a playoff game in St. Louis against the Rams, Brett Favre threw, I think it was 5 interceptions. Six.
I think it was six.
And I replied, yeah. And Mike Sherman let him do it when anyone else would have pulled that quarterback on that day. Mike Sherman let him keep firing away.
Fire away.
Interceptions. Oh, my goodness.
Okay.
See, Brewers fans, we've got a lot to cry about in Packerland, too. We're right with you. We understand. We feel for you.
All right, let's pull on some other emerging stories and storylines with this Packer team so far through 4 games. From the Jordan Love front, I'm hoping that the Jordan Love we saw in the second half to the eyeball test. I know that the Vikings were kind of in a softer defensive stance at that point. I get that. But just from an eyeball standpoint, you're like, okay, good. Hard, nice, good 3-5 step sets and drops, throwing well, planting on that front leg and the front knee that's recovering. He looked way better in the second half. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. The numbers say so, but forget about numbers. He looked better. You're right. He threw the ball better. I watched the first half of the game last night again, and I didn't realize live how, tenuous Jordan was in he planted the right foot but you've got to follow through and step with your left foot. And I didn't realize how much he was kind of backing off on that in the first half. I think in the second half, he just made an effort to go ahead and test the knee and go ahead and make a better throwing motion. A lot of low balls in that first half. He was much better in the second half, and I would trust he's probably going to be much better this week. And that's what they need. They need the Jordan Love that threw the ball in the second half in this game against the Rams and going forward.
Wayne, how good is this team? The record's 2-2. They lose to the Eagles and they lose to the Vikings. I wouldn't say that the Colts and Titans are great football teams, I think, with the body of work that we have from them. So how good is this team?
It's still hard to tell. I mean, the penalties are killing them, guys. 34 penalties. That is third most in the league. 264 penalty yards. That's seventh most. Their opponents have committed 15 fewer penalties and 117 fewer penalty yards. That's something that's got to get cleaned up. There's no question about that. And a lot of it's on the offensive line, and that's really hard to fathom. But maybe the officials have been calling things a little tighter in the trenches this year. Certainly they're looking at it a little closer, but the Packers have to get that resolved. The other thing they have to do is we have got to see the pass rush we saw in the second half at Tennessee in the first and second half of every game going forward now. That's what you have to have. And they haven't had that often enough. So those are two things right there. The quarterback being healthy certainly would help. And, getting these receivers on track. I mean, Dontavius Wicks, he had 3 drops against Minnesota, 5 drops this season, I believe. So, a lot of things have to kind of come together right now, Butchie, but they can.
Yeah.
And so while the team may not be where you'd like it to be at the moment at 2-2, there's certainly the possibility that they could become really good down the stretch as we get better. And that's kind of where you want to be. You don't want to be firing on all cylinders like Minnesota is right now, because there's no way you're going to be firing on all cylinders when we get to January and it counts in the playoffs.
Yeah. You win now and you get good later. That's my mantra for the
Well, and that's the thing. Win now. Yeah.
Win now, get good later. You just got to bank these wins early. Your team is going to be still developing. You don't know exactly who they're going to be, but it'll matter in January. But just don't throw these games away early. And that's what I'm hoping for on Sunday. Packers are, what did we say the number was again, boys?
3.
That's all?
Interesting.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all. It's interesting. It's like they
know something we don't know.
The scoring is down this year, Wayne, as you know, in the NFL, and there's a lot more tighter games. So I think they're not putting anyone real aggressively on the point spread out in front of anyone else. So knock on wood, we shall see. Wayne, have a great call. Safe travels out there to LA as well.
All right. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you Monday.